My guest today is one of the most well-known and accomplished keyboardists and musicians in music today. He's an accomplished solo artist as well as a member of Prog Icon's Dream Theater. I'd like to welcome Jordan Rudess to the show. Hey, Jordan, thanks for being here today.
How are you, man?
I'm great. So you're out in California. You have a show tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm in Riverside, California tonight.
That's great. What's your sort of prep for a show through the day other than, wasting 15 minutes talking to me?
Well, let's see. We just kind of get off the bus and wipe off the usual delirium from, in this case, we had a bus ride from San Francisco last night, so we slept on the bus, and nothing quite like waking up in a parking lot,
Right.
And then I put my stuff down. For me, a lot of times I put my stuff down and I'll just get out and get some air. Like today, I just went for a little walk. Helps to clear the head a bit. And then, maybe get a little bit of something to eat or massage or something, and then head over to sound check and meet and greet with a bunch of people, and, then basically make your way to the stage. And in this case, play for, we have a 3-hour show every night, so it's a big show. And then after that, kind of meet some more people, and then fall down on the bus and start again.
Listen, the reviews of the show have been amazing. I haven't had a chance to see it. You guys haven't made it my way yet. We're down in South Florida. Hopefully that's somewhere down the road, but I'll ask you about that. So, you guys have been on the road now for a few months, wrapping up the North American leg, right, of the tour. And then you're heading over to Europe for the summer, right?
That sounds right. We're actually going to be heading over to Europe in July.
Right. How's the tour been going? I mean, like I said, the response that I've read about has been amazing. Has it been different than other tours? Has it been better?
There's a lot to report about the tour. I mean, the fact that we're doing the evening riff thing, that's been a long time kind of like coming, and Dream Theater hasn't done that in a while.
Right.
I mean, the reason we haven't done it is, number one, it's a whole lot of work and it's tiring. But, and just in many ways it's easier to take out an opening band, and sometimes it's also a nice thing to bring out a new band or another band and just kind of present people with the music they haven't heard. But in this particular case, we felt like the demand from the promoters and from our audience themselves was so strong to have an evening with show from us that we really couldn't deny it. We wanted, we were trying to give people what they want and what would make sense from a business point of view as well. And so embarking on this was a lot of work, both to pull all the music together, but also when you're doing that kind of a show, in our case, we really wanted to make it an experience. So we ended up putting a lot of extra time and thought and finances behind pulling together probably what's the biggest show the biggest show that Dream Theater has ever done. So, and in doing that, it was definitely putting a lot of energy out there, but it's also taking a bit of a risk because, you put yourself out there and, you see what happens.
Right.
Especially in today's music business, which is so weird. You never know what's going on, and usually it's not good news. But I'm here to report that, we have been very successful in getting a show out there that people seem to really, really love. The feedback, just the smiles, the resonance in the room when we're playing is amazing. The harder line feedback in terms of ticket numbers and, that kind of stuff has been great. Everywhere we go, the ticket sales are up. We've been having a great time just personally, like we just feel really proud of what we created. And so it's all kind of good stuff, although again, it's definitely more work than, a normal band would do because we're on stage for 3 hours.
Right.
But it's very rewarding because we feel like we're at this really, really cool point, musically, personally in the band, and we put together a great show. And I feel like Dream Theater is definitely kind of hitting that next level that we've been kind of searching out, especially in this country.
Well, it's something that a lot of the fans, including myself, being a longtime, avid fan, that you could take pride in. Being a supporter of a band like you guys 20 years ago, it was, oh, you like Dream Theater? Who is that? That kind of thing. And now you guys have withstood the test of time and passed, all the different bands that have come and gone. and you're bigger than ever, and it's sort of a great vindication in that regard, I think.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, and it doesn't come, again, without a whole lot of work and commitment from everybody in this band. I mean, it's not only something that we're passionate about, but it's a serious, job for us. I mean, we all have families, we're committed to them, we're committed to our music, we love what we do, and the whole thing becomes a very serious kind of a responsibility, if you will, on every level, to make great music and to do it right and to be smart about our business and to, put on a good show and just make the albums cool and right.
I'm curious about the decision with the set list this time around. It's been pretty much the same every night from what I've seen, and you went with the decision to play the second half of Awake and a portion of Scenes from Memory, I guess, as the encore. Was that sort of a no-brainer when you were putting the set list together, or what was the decision-making there?
I definitely wouldn't say it was a no-brainer in the sense that the set lists, that are really considered very seriously. And, we're all ears to listen to our advisors, our fans, to do research, to figure out what's really going to be something that works and makes a nice flow for the evening. So that was really kind of carefully constructed. And that's, and that's the reason that we're taking this set list around the world. It's almost like, it's very much like going to see, a Broadway show or something where it's just so tight and together. Our lighting people and our video people with all their cues and our staging and everything kind of works.
So when fans go to see a show like that, they're like, why can't they play this song? But you can't just change that around. Everything has to be exact with everyone involved, right?
Well, first of all, it's a really long show.
Right.
And things have changed, in recent years with the perspective of the way that we operate. We prefer to come into a concert situation and have everything really, really dialed. So it's as smooth as can be and as effective and powerful as can be. And that's what I think we're offering with our show like this. So, it's kind of where our band brain is at, and our crew is amazing, and the lighting is incredible, and you start throwing around different songs and everything. I mean, okay, maybe it's kind of fun at one level, but you're not going to get the show that you're getting.
Right. Well, I don't think any Dream Theater fan would complain with the songs anyway. So
3-hour show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to leave out something. What are the highlights for you personally? Either a song or a moment that sort of stands out for you on the tour?
Well, song-wise, I guess I would say it's really, really fun to play Eliminations from the new album. It just feels really kind of like large and powerful, and it's at a good point in the show. It's right before we come back to play some of the scene stuff. I think it's a really kind of bold statement about where the band is these days, and it's got this very cool middle section. It's more orchestral, I'm sure you know,
right,
and mellow. But we've had this wonderful movie made by an artist friend of mine named Thomas Pasaica. He did some beautiful animation work, and it's kind of it's a little break actually for us, because the movie plays, the orchestral music plays for a couple of minutes, and then we'll hit it again. But that song is definitely a highlight. And then touring wise, I mean, we played a really, really exciting show up in Boston at the Boston Opera House with the Berklee College of Music.
Oh, with the orchestra, right?
That was filmed, so that should be coming out on the DVD.
Fantastic. Any chance for more U.S. shows following the Europe run?
You know what? I'm not sure. Maybe. I mean, I guess there's some areas we didn't cover, so it's possible that I haven't heard.
We got to get you down to Florida. I mean, it's been a while.
There you go.
Put in a word for us. What?
Call the management when I hang up.
I'll talk to him. What about your live setup in terms of gear? And you're really sort of streamlined with one keyboard, as opposed to 20 years ago you had guys with 20 keyboards and the whole thing. So, and has it changed for you this tour versus previous ones?
Well, the main keyboard that I use in my show is Chord Kronos X. It's a very powerful 88-note controller. Basically, incredibly capable to do what I have to do with Dream Theater, which basically means playing a ton of sounds, one right after the other, in very smooth succession, all kinds of splits and layers and everything. And I come from a background of working with synthesizers. I've been doing it for years, just kind of getting my hands dirty and doing my own programming. Used to work for Korg in the old days and even Kurzweil, and so I know how to make these things kind of work. And now the technology is so strong that I can get what I need out of a Kronos, in a big way. But in addition to that, I also have some very cool gear that I use. For one thing, on stage that's kind of attached to my main stand, I have my iPad, which I don't know if you know it, but I have my own app company.
Well, absolutely. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, sure.
So for instance, during the show, I use 3 of the apps that my company makes. One is called MorphWiz, which was used on the Backs of Angels tune. And then I use SampleWiz as part of Breaking All Illusions, which was on the last album. And then on the Enigma machine, I'm using a really cool app called Geosynthesizer, which is really super playable, almost may burn. So I use that on one of the solos in the album, and I use that live on the stage as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I kind of get to, use a little bit of my apps, which is really fun, and to turn people on to the coolness factor therein. And then beyond that, I've also got a brand new keyboard that's called a Seaboard, all one word, Seaboard. It's made by Roli Labs, which is spelled R-O-L-I Labs. Okay. And they're a company out of the UK that I actually do some work with. I'm the head of the music experience with that company. And it's a really cool instrument because it kind of gives keyboard players the ability to have the expression that one might find on a violin or a guitar, or an instrument where you could do vibrato on each note, or really lay into one note and not the other and change the tone or the amplitude. So I'm just starting to use the Seaboard in my rig. It's an all-black, very thin, very cool keyboard, and it sits under my Continuum, which people know because I've used it before. The Continuum, of course, is also an amazing instrument. It's basically, you can think of it as a flat surface. It's like a three-dimensional surface where I can play notes left to right, or I can play a note and actually move on the vertical grid and express something. Like in one of the sounds I use a lot, I get this cool feedback type of effect.
Right.
And then finally, instrument-wise, I have a couple of moments where I walk to the front of the stage with my Zen Riffer, which is a custom guitar.
Right. I've seen that before. That thing's amazing.
Yeah, Charles Nintendo, his company built me this amazing-looking, thing. And that actually, the sound of the Zen Riffer and the sound of the Continuum, they're actually plugged into Roland V-Synths. So a couple of years back, I was asked by Roland to make some patches for the V-Synth. And after I made those patches, I was like, wow, these are some cool sounds. So I decided I would use those sounds and control them from not only the Continuum, but also my Zen Riffer.
Wow, that's awesome stuff. You've had a whole sort of second career with the apps and that technology side. How do you find time to balance the two? And is it, with the music business being what it is that industry sort of almost easier for you to do well in, if you know what I mean?
Well, my Wisdom Music company, of course, it's Wisdom with a Z, it's a work of, it's just something that I love to do. It's not, although it's made some money, it's not, purely for the money in any way. It's not like my main job. And through the years, it's sometimes made, more money than other times, depending on what's being released. But I keep it going because, again, it's really fun and I like it, and it is some, extra money for the family. But time-wise, I just do it around, I'll wake up in the morning, just spend a little time on it. Or even after the show, like last night I'm sitting on the bus and I'm writing to my user interface designer in Italy, and we're talking about this new app that I'm going to be coming out with in May, and kind of making plans for that. So, my guys know that, the guys I work with, they know I get pretty busy with the shows and, with the craziness of touring, but everybody's really cool, and I have, some great developers and some good support. And I'm always working on really, things that are of real interest to me and things that I consider to be kind of next generation like music ideas. I'll tell you about this one that's coming out in May. Give you a little preview of what it's going to be. It's going to be called Harmony Wiz, all one word, capital H, capital W.
Okay.
And I consider it to be a minor musical miracle. One of the things you can do is you can take your finger and you can paint on the touch surface, and the notes fly off of your finger and fly onto a musical staff. And you basically drawn a musical line, and then you simply hit this little button, this little Harmony Wiz magic button, if you will, and in less than like 2 seconds, it arranges in 4 or 5 part counterpoint harmony your piece. Because you can pass it, last night I was passing it around a table to some of my friends from Stanford University, and I said, here, draw something. They just kind of like draw something with their finger, hit the button, and literally, just in seconds, they had like a really, really great sounding piece. So you can say you want it to be 4 measures, 8 measures, 64 measures. So it's I'm really proud and excited to be about to launch it in May.
Where would that be available for people to check out?
It's an iOS app, so it'll be on the iTunes App Store. So anybody with an iPad, it's not for iPhone. This particular app, it's for iPad.
Wow, that's amazing stuff. If you have a minute, I'd like to ask you about the recent solo record that you put out, the Exploration.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah, and just see, you're always putting out solo material. This time it's an orchestral CD. Why the move to make that record at this time, and really, how do you decide on what you want to do solo-wise when you get a chance?
Yes, that's because I've had time thinking about it. I mean, okay, so the last solo work that I did was kind of 2-part. One of the things I wanted to do is make an album at my Steinway piano. I've got a beautiful Steinway 9-foot grand in my house, and I love it. And I love sitting down at it and just kind of vibing and getting into a great headspace. And I thought, it would be really cool to do that and to put out an album. And I've done like piano kind of albums before, but I wanted to do one that was kind of original music and more just really showing where my personal piano musical headspace is at.
Right.
And so I created an album called All That Is Now. And both that album and the Explorations one, which I'll tell you about, were part of the Pledge Music campaign. Pledge Music is kind of like Kickstarter for music.
Mm-hmm.
It's you do this crowdfunding to kind of like fuel the whole thing. So I had this concept that I would put these 2 ideas together with this crowdfunding campaign, and actually both albums have now come out. Although I haven't really, when I get home, I'm going to do a whole real publicity blast on everything, because the orchestral one is people need to know what's going on, right. Especially. But so the campaign was about the solo piano album, and then in addition to the solo piano album, I decided, since I'm the app guy, that I wanted to have an interactive app that I could release this album, in that format as well. So I released Jordan Rudess Explores, which is the interactive version of All That Is Now. So somebody with an iPhone or an iPad, iOS device, basically, can download that, and they can use gestures on the screen to kind of modify and change the music, and then even share it with their friends and show them what they've done to the music. And that's available right now on the App Store.
Awesome.
In iTunes World. So it was that part. But then the bigger part of the Pledge Music campaign, and I say bigger because it was just plain more expensive to put on and more complicated, which is the orchestral part. A few years ago, I wrote this piece. It's like a concerto. It's called Explorations for Keyboard and Orchestra. And I brought it down to Venezuela and premiered it with the fellow who helped me to actually orchestrate it for the real instruments, a young protege of mine. His name is Aaron Bashbu, who actually happened to be the conductor and arranger of this recent concert we did at Dream Theater. So after that concert, I decided that I really wanted to get this piece recorded properly. It was really important to me to get a great performance and get it recorded well. And so fast forward to now, and that's why I put together this Pledge Music campaign, because I hooked up with an orchestra in Poland called the Sinfonietta Canzones, and basically arranged with them, with the help of my wife, Danielle, who's a producer, to put together this whole thing where we get that orchestra in the studio for like over a month, rehearsing this piece, recording this piece. I flew to Poland, the whole thing, a whole, episode of an adventure. End result being that, we were able to release this album, and I think it came out really well. And it's called Explorations. And that was the final part of this whole Pledge Music campaign that we did. It was very successful.
That's great. Yeah, people should check that out. You also did a great CD that I like, sort of a covers tribute thing called The Road Home, where you worked with a lot of prog guys, Neil Morris and Steven Wilson, and I think with Nick DiVirgilio, and even Kip Winger, which a lot of people might be surprised to be on there. And I had a chance to interview him recently, and he talked about it as well. How do you get all those guys to join you on different records? You just call them up? Do you run into them? How do you do that? How do you do the thing?
Certain guys I know, certain guys I didn't know, and the record company at the time knew, and it's always a little bit different. Sometimes you just have to reach out and try to find the manager. So with each guy, it's a different story, really. But it's a lot of work. For an album like The Road Home, which I was just thinking about the other day, too, because I hadn't really thought about it or heard it for a while. It's just getting all that together, the whole, the guest list, and then coordinating all the guests is as big a job as anything else. I will say that on my newest orchestral album, besides the orchestra, I have Guthrie Govan playing a really, really wonderful guitar solo during the orchestral version of Screaming Head.
Yeah,
he's the only guest really besides the orchestra.
And he's incredible. So listen, I just wanted to ask you lastly, if there's plans already for another Dream Theater record. Are you guys writing while you're on the road, and what are the plans moving forward?
Well, we have a bunch more touring to do. As you know, we have a little break, and then we're going to tour some more, and then after we tour some more, we're going to tour some more, which will lead us to the new year. And then I'm sure, although we haven't really made a plan yet, we will get back and start working on another record. We haven't really, spent much time or any time writing it because we've been so busy on the road.
Right.
But yeah, we'll get there. There's a whole lot more touring to do.
Well, that's great, and I know everybody will be thrilled for anything you guys do, DVD, more touring, a new CD, all that. Listen, Jordan, I appreciate you taking this time out to speak with me. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. Dream Theater has been my world for 25 years, so any time I get a chance to speak with one of you guys, it's a thrill, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your time as well. I really appreciate it.
Thanks to Jordan for the interview. We're going to close with a track off the latest Dream Theater. This is the track The Looking Glass. For more information and upcoming interviews, please check theprogreport.com. Thanks.